The UPMC sports medicine experts in Central PA are here to help keep you in the game and improve your quality of life, no matter your age or activity level. Visit upmc.com/Central PA SportsMed to learn more.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Pennsylvania High School Football Report podcast. I'm Brian Linder. I'm here with Dan Sostek, Eric Epler. Dan, let them hear your voice.
Howdy.
Yep.
Hey, welcome.
We always do that. Moving forward in the podcast, if you're new, you'll know who they are when you hear their voice. If you're a fan of the podcast, you've been listening, you know who they are already. Another big week in high school football, and we have no script. We're going without a net. We're just going to.
You're not supposed to tell the listeners that, Brian.
Dan, I'm transparent, Dan. I'm all about
just to let them figure it out when they listen to us start rambling about.
I'm all about putting all the cards on the table, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, you were out at District 3 Wrestling this week.
Yeah.
This weekend. Yep. And you saw some big-time Pennsylvania high school football players throwing it down.
Yeah, I mean, we had one champion, and that was Michael Hershey out of the hosting team, Spring Grove. That was a fun match to watch. He went up against a kid, Ian Winchester, committed to George Mason for wrestling, and Hershey, who, if you don't know, is a Maryland commit, offensive lineman, who I think that we're all pretty high on. He looks the part. The thing is, like, he's one of those linemen that he doesn't have the traditional, he doesn't look like Tony Siragusa or something like that. He looks like a capital A athlete, and he put to him. But I think the cool thing was, at the same time, wrestling for third place on the mat right next to him was a guy we talk about a lot on this podcast, Kevin Brown, sophomore from Harrisburg, who I believe did not wrestle last year for Harrisburg. He played basketball and had a great wrestling season. Came in first in sectionals. Went to the consolation bracket, punched a ticket to states, won his third place match. And when he won his third place match, he jumped into the arms of his coaches. And if you know what Kevin Brown looks like, that says something. Literally, he did it while the championship match was going on. And everyone in the gymnasium reacted to that and not the championship match. And if you've ever been to a wrestling match, all eyes are on the first place match. It has to be kind of a sight to behold to see that, but for that to happen. So yeah. And then Cole Bartram from Northern, he's unfortunately for Cole, he's one of the best wrestlers in the state, but the other best wrestler in the state at his weight class is also in District 3, and Tucker Hogan, who is 88-0 in the last 2 years and has beat Cole. I think he beat him for the third straight time in the title match, but Cole will head back to states again one more time, and both him and Tucker Hogan are heading to Lock Haven. So yeah, a lot of football players represented. Jared Porter came in 5th in sectionals last week from CD East. We talk about it a lot, but wrestling, you get hard pressed to find a better sport to help you with football, especially if you're a defensive player or a lineman in that sport. And I think even irrespective of technique, just builds that sort of toughness. So cool to see a lot of the big names do well there.
Yeah, I always love the linemen who are wrestlers. Like I said, there's a mental grit and toughness to it. I think college coaches love it too. And those two guys, again, if you haven't seen, we mentioned our guy Michael Hershey from Spring Grove last week because he made the Big 33 team. If you haven't seen him and you haven't seen Kevin Brown, when you think about linemen, a lot of times you think of a belly, stuff like these guys are ripped.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think is Kevin Brown listed as an athlete, I think on 24/7, or on Rivals or something. I think one of those sites might even just list him as an athlete, which I think isn't a crazy thing because he's he's one of those modern football players, right? That you can kind of play at a bunch of different positions.
I think it's because they haven't figured out if he's going to be a really good offensive lineman because the way he moves, he runs like a linebacker.
Yeah.
or if he's going to be just a monster terror of a defensive lineman.
Yeah, I think you just want him in your program. I don't think it really matters what he does.
Anything else from wrestling?
Not much other than I made my play-by-play debut, and I think I did all right. No Bruce Badgley, but we'll have to manage.
No steel chair shots, no run-ins.
No, we were joking about Jimmy and I were joking that the Undertaker music was going to play right before the championship match, and Michael Hershey was going to have to wrestle the Undertaker. But nope, just Hershey versus Winchester. So fun day of wrestling, and we'll head back to states. You know, we had a state champion last year who was a pretty good football player in Riley Rebel. So probably have a couple more.
State winners go to WrestleMania in April.
They should get a free ticket. That would be, yeah. I mean, it's in Philly. Least you can do.
Hey, WWE, use some good press these days.
Yeah, I mean, if it would be worse things in the world for WWE in terms of a feeder system than the Pennsylvania State Wrestling Tournament already gave you Kurt Angle and Matt Riddle. Might as well give you some more kids as well.
And you've been looking that up, right? You gonna bring us that story?
Oh yeah, I've got it pretty much ready right now. I've got like a list of 30 plus guys, some other football players too. Scott McKillop, Bill Fralick.
Don't give it all away, but you guys got to pay attention to PennLive. Dan's been looking up just like the storied history of Pennsylvania State Wrestling Championship and some names that kind of jump off the page at you that competed in the state championships.
It's arguably the best wrestling tournament, high school wrestling tournament in the country. So you'd hope you get some big names from there. But you kind of, we talk about how great high school football is, and that's true. But in terms of wrestling, you'd be hard pressed to find a state that's more obsessed with it than Pennsylvania. Probably go to Iowa, probably go to maybe Ohio, but we're pretty lucky that we get get to see some of these athletes because it's pretty wild.
I'll take you guys turn the page a little bit. Something else, as we move outside of it. We talk about wrestlers and how good they are as far as making that transition to football and how it kind of plays into football and their skill sets. We kind of had a wild one this week, and this is one for all you guys out there who do football recruiting rankings. Because if you go look for J.J. Kelly's film from Chambersburg, you're not going to find any from this past year, and you probably won't rank him, but you probably should because he's 6'5". He's a state champion, right? In triple jump, I think, in the triple jump.
Yep.
Really good basketball player. Had some offers. So they go out. They beat Central Dauphin this week in a big District 3 playoff game. And Fran Brown offers the guy for football. Again, he's about 6'5", maybe 190, 200 pounds, somewhere in there. Very, very athletic. We knew he was one of the best athletes in the Mid-Penn and probably the state. But guys, what do you think about a kid who didn't even play football last year? And that's a good first offer for anybody, and he didn't play football last year.
Yeah, I don't think it surprises us. I mean, we got a chance to see him before, and obviously Chambersburg is, typically gets, beat up pretty good in that Commonwealth division. I mean, they always seem to be, like 5 to 6 guys short, and in football in the Commonwealth division, that usually equals not many wins. So, he chose not to play, which was surprising to us because we thought, he had a real future at the next level for football. So, I don't think this is a big surprise because, athletes get recruited, right? I mean, athletes, guys who can do multiple things. I mean, we've seen, just in the past couple of years, we've seen guys that had to really choose between baseball and football, or maybe they went to a place, maybe a level down, a Division II, to play both. But certainly with his size and his speed and his jumping ability, I mean, my gosh, if you put that kid at tight end on a program that actually uses their tight end, that might be something special there. You mentioned his ability to jump. He's got good hands. Obviously, he's got good feet. if he's a triple jump champion, we got to see him, Dan and I and Evan, at the track championships last year. So, why not? I mean, why not?
Yeah, and I chatted with him about why he didn't play football this year, and you know, obviously he's a three-sport athlete because I'm about to head down to Chambersville right now to watch him play basketball. But he was doing a lot of summer league basketball this off season, and it's how he picked up a couple of D1 offers in that sport from Mount St. Mary and American. And he said he suffered a bad ankle sprain kind of a couple weeks before the season, and then he kind of just made the executive decision. You know what? I'm going to take my time working back from this to get ready for basketball season because that's where I have offers. And he didn't. He said that 2 years ago, coaches asked for his film, but he just kind of thought it was, run of the mill, ask for your film and just to see it or something. And then decided he wasn't going to play football, risk injury before basketball season. And then all of a sudden he gets home from the district quarterfinal win, sees a text from Fran Brady. He says, I believe he says it was the assistant coach whose name is escaping me. That was the one that had been in contact with him before. But he said he wasn't necessarily surprised that football team circled back, but he was kind of surprised at the timing. And I think he's open to doing anything. He's even said his staff told him they'd reach out to the basketball program to see about dual sports. I don't know about that because Syracuse is, kind of cream of the crop basketball program. But hey, if he's already on scholarship for football, they probably take him as a quote unquote walk on. We've seen other athletes have to make this decision in the past. I think one of the biggest ones a while ago was Terrell Pryor, who I believe committed to my Pitt Panthers to play basketball. And then 2 years later, football programs started coming after him and were like, no, I'm actually going to go play quarterback at Ohio State. I don't think it's going to be to that degree with J.J. Kelly, but it's the type of athlete we're dealing with. And then this is all ignoring the opportunities he's going to get as a track athlete as well. Like that is where I imagine he will get the best opportunities. But the sense I get talking to him is he's kind of, I don't want to speak for him and I don't speak for him obviously, but I get the sense that he's going to want to go to a school where he can also play either basketball or football. And he's a really good kid and he's really fun to watch in any sport he plays. So yeah, not surprised, but a cool moment for him as well. I think we all did a double take because I first saw it and thought, did Syracuse offer him for basketball? Because that would be a big jump from his offers. Not a huge jump because he does have D1, but yeah, I think it's, and he did say he will be playing football next year, which I'm sure we're all excited for because the more having talent like that in the mid-pen's always a good thing.
Well, you mentioned Dan earlier, Riley Rebel just last year.
Yeah.
Obviously he had to choose football or wrestling. I think we can agree he wasn't your typical, 300-pound athlete.
No.
So obviously he had the dexterity and the wherewithal and the skill sets to do either one at college at a high level. Of course, playing at James Madison now. And just current class and Nick's Logic. I think that same kid. He was a baseball guy committed to Pitt, and then all of a sudden the football offers kept rolling in, and he found a spot in East Carolina that apparently is going to let him do both.
Yeah, and that's something I could see with JJ. Right, is kind of trying to thread that needle where he also said, and he's a savvy kid. He said, I've got three different sports going after me. I'm probably going to go somewhere where I get a good NIL deal too, because why not? Like if you have that sort of leverage with three different, say, hey, I can just go to another place and play, do track. Maybe you get another truck or something. I don't know.
Well, I think it's interesting too. A big part of it is your seasons too. I think it's a hell of a lot to ask to go and play at Syracuse football and then play Syracuse basketball.
Yeah,
back-to-back seasons. There's
well,
a lot of crossover there.
You know who literally did that at Syracuse University?
Oh,
Donovan McNabb.
Oh, there you go.
Donovan McNabb was a football and basketball player, so it has been done at that specific.
Oh, it can happen, but I mean that's
it's ironic because that's one of probably the only examples I could think of. It's that Julius Peppers at UNC did both. But you don't get it too. I think Tony Gonzalez, maybe Antonio Gates, but you don't get it too often.
Yeah, I think it might be more likely JJ goes football track.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I mean, that would make a lot of sense for him, of course. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm happy he's going to be back on the field.
Yeah,
come in the fall. So
yeah, defensive backs might not.
No.
I mean, when you look at his resume, if you were ranking like just pure athletes in Pennsylvania, he's probably
You gotta be right up
this for guys.
I mean, if you win a 3A track state title, you're automatically in that conversation, in my opinion. That's why I think you go with like Lex. I mean, it's literally like a Lex. I honestly wonder if Syracuse was kind of looking at Lex Cyrus and started going through the rest of the track champions, and we're like, "Hey, what about this kid? He played football 2 years ago. Turn on his film. Well, yeah, it does sort of translate." And then offered him like it. If Pennsylvania is one of those states, if you win a state title in something, you have to be pretty good. So I I think he's up there.
Brant Brown had a reputation as a really good recruiter, and this is digging a little deep here to get to a guy who's really could be a gem. He could be a gem for them.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean we've seen with a guy like Lex Cyrus how quickly these recruitments can heat up. Right, you just get one offer, and then another school sees, hey, Syracuse just offered the triple jump champion in PA. We're going to offer the triple jump champion. That's how recruiting works a lot of times too, right? It only takes one to open the floodgates. So I'm sure I can't imagine dealing if I was like a parent or something dealing with a recruiting for a kid for one sport. He's going to have to deal with it for 3 separate sports. It's going to be a busy couple year or months for Mr. Kelly.
The UPMC sports medicine experts in Central PA are here to help keep you in the game and improve your quality of life, no matter your age or activity level. Visit upmc.com/Central PA SportsMed to learn more.
I'll tell you what else, guys. Last week we had the East-West rosters come out. We talked about Big 33. Now we got the East-West rosters out. I say last week, I guess it was last week because we're sitting here on Tuesday when we're recording this. But want to talk any about East-West, guys? Anything sticking out with those rosters? Ep, I know you wrote up the stories for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it pretty much went sort of as planned. When you looked at the Big 33 roster, which came out Wednesday, and then Friday they released the East-West rosters, I think there were a lot of, the progression. If I'm going through all state guys in my head, things like that. And I think a lot of those guys wound up on the East-West rosters. Of course, there was a big haul for Steel High for the small school game. I think 6 guys, Andrew Irby Jr., Jan Perry, Rel Caesar, Eugene Green, Amari Williams. I'm missing somebody, I think, on the small school roster. So that was really no surprise. A lot of those guys were going to show up there. And I was thrilled to see Ryan Epps. I thought was certainly deserving. I thought Epps would be in the conversation for Big 33. I'm sure he was. He's on the big school roster on the east side too. And another guy too we talked a lot about during the season, but really was kind of an unsung hero for that Harrisburg team was Raytel Bryant.
Yeah.
And he made it obviously from the big school in the East-West game, which I was happy to see because I mean, that kid really was a difference maker. But when you factored in all the quote unquote bigger names at Harrisburg with Lee and obviously Epps and a couple other guys and, Coke, he kind of got overshadowed a little bit in the middle there. But he was an outstanding player, had an outstanding year. And I was happy to see him get picked for the big school side.
Yeah, and I think the Steel High kid you might have missed was Cam Chisholm. He's also on that.
Cam Chisholm, yes. Yeah. Sorry, Cam.
Yep. But yeah, like I said, I mean, you could put that whole Steel High team on the
pretty much.
Team.
Yeah.
To get a team that's what's kind of fun about this game is that you get to kind of team up the Steel High and Southern Columbia powerhouses and kind of create a mega team there. And even looking at the other teams too, like I know we were talking before we started kind of getting Logan Kushner and Peyton Wayner on the same team, kind of high school rivals joining together. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Bryce Starretts is on the West team.
Yeah, the Cumberland Valley kids and Chambersburg kids that go on the West team.
Yeah,
when they're selected. So Caden Pines obviously was a pick. I think Cumberland Valley had 3.
Yeah.
Alex. I'm sorry. Yeah, Alex Ave.
Yep,
Alex Ave on there. Is he Big 33?
Yeah, he's on. No, he's on. Yeah, he's,
Okay, so it's Sauve Starretts and Caden Pines. Josh Oswalt is the West coach.
mhm.
Will be the head coach for the West side. So yeah, so those are three really really solid picks too, and I was glad to see them selected.
Yeah, and then you also have TT Neal from CD East, really
Yep.
kind of underrated player that I think we've given some shout outs on here before. It's cool to see him make it. Aubrey Carter, who I thought he's got a teammate in the Big 33, Tymier Williams. I was always really impressed by Carter throughout his Susquehanna Township career. I think I'm happy to see he made the roster as well. And then you just see some names, that like you kind of forget about as the year goes on, or if we kind of cover it, like Dalton Clymer had just had a tremendous season this year for Northwestern Lehigh, and then you get other kids as well, like you get Riker Jones from Wyomissing, who poor Wes Perry is probably very happy to see him on this graduation list because he has done a number on them the last 2 years. But yeah, this is always a little more interesting to me than kind of the Big 33 in some ways, because the Big 33 is a lot of the big names that you're mostly ready for. These are the ones that you either have filed away a little bit after the season ends, and it's good to see them get another chance to show what they're worth.
I got to tell you guys, looking at it, especially these big school East-West rosters, I'm not sure either of those teams, East and West, couldn't get the Big 33 squad to run for its money. I mean, just looking at the East squad, you got Mikal Davis and Quinn Hennicle, both. Quinn Hennicle from Downtown West, Mikal Davis from Imhotep Charter. I think Quinn's going to Old Dominion, Mikal's going to Army. Both are mobile. Both can cause problems getting outside of the pocket. Both can throw it pretty good. The running backs, I mean, I might take them over the Big 33 group. Trey Trimba from Parkland he's going to Army too, I believe.
Yep.
He is a beast. Aiden Harris, his dad, wasn't his dad played in NFL, right? Arlen Harris, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he's a good player too. The tight ends, Jack Donnelly, Ryan Campbell, Jack Donnelly from CB East, and Ryan Campbell from Downtown. They're hard-hitting kids. Mason, I'm going to butcher some names. Mason Kuhner from Nazareth. I put him on our All-PA team. He did it on both sides of the ball, had a huge season.
That line's really good too.
Danny Dykes, the kid from Souderton, he's like 6'4", 170. He can play. And the line, Lakeem Still from St. Joe's Prep, he's 6'2", he's 6'4". He's probably going somewhere bigger. Zafir Stewart's going, I think, to Rutgers or Illinois now.
Yeah.
Huge. Sean Kinney is a great wrestler, right? And one of the better linemen. And Paul McClune for Twin Valley. He was another kid we had on All-PA. He's going to Navy, I think. Their line's great. Sean McNulty at defensive end. I mean, that's just the East squad. Shamir Johnson's a good corner. Out of St. Joe's Prep. David Magic Makem. Did you guys know that? Magic from Cheltenham.
My mom's alma mater.
Jake Kucera, he's a ball player, man. That's just the East. And like you guys said, West, look, Tucker Teets at running back, great career. Daquan Reynolds, small but explosive. Bryce Sterrett's big guy, going to hit you in the mouth. Guys, I'm liking these rosters. I mean, Idris, I'm going to say his name wrong, but he's got him at corner. The kid from New Oxford. Idris Amatovic. That kid's a ball player. If he was somewhere bigger than New Oxford, I think people would know his name better. But I don't know, man. I'm not sure that these teams,
Cohen Shelt's a pretty good player as well.
Connor Young, Dyson Delaney from Mount Lebanon. I think he's like a Navy kid or Air Force kid.
I mean, we mentioned it, but Alex Sauve, he's all-state. I mean, he is probably one of Ep's favorite players. I think he's covered the last few years. It basically carried that Cumberland Valley defense in the second half to being one of the better defenses, in the state.
Yeah, he's been tremendous. A couple guys too I wanted to point out, and Justin Kalitsnik from Delaware Valley. the inside backer. He's an Old Dominion kid going to Old Dominion. He's outstanding. He's going to be one you want to keep an eye on in this game. And we talked a lot about Mikhail Davis, the quarterback for Imhotep Charter, on how his progression. Like I was lucky enough to see Imhotep probably at 6-7 times, over Davis's career. And every single time he got exponentially better, and not just as a passer, but just as a leader, like a solid guy in the huddle that sort of took charge of everything. And he wasn't like that 2 years ago. He was sort of all talent and sort of introverted and kind of just went about his business. And you were like, boy, if this kid ever, puts his foot forward and just starts being that vocal leader for this team. And this year he was absolutely that. And his skill set went through the roof. I mean, I really like watching this kid play football. So those are two guys I'm really interested in watching in the big school game for sure.
I mean, they're just even looking at the small school, Epler, I need to have you make some lines for what it would be if these teams played the Big 33 team. 'Cause I think
well, here's the thing, Brian, and you guys know this. When you get down to this point, like I said, there's all-state guys on the Big 33 roster. There's a lot of all-state guys on the East-West rosters. It is subjective. It is the opinion of these coaches. When you get to that, you're probably looking at the top 8 guys in each position, and the top 4 are the ones you call first to be backers on the Big 33. 4 through 8 or 5 through 8 are the guys that get the big school spots in East-West. If the 3 of us were doing those lists, they'd all be different.
Yeah.
They'd all be different on who's 1 through 8 and who's going to get a call first. So it is very subjective. And again, coaches see a lot of football. Obviously, they know what they're looking for. But I think our Big 33 roster would be vastly different than what the coaches come out with. And that's okay. I mean, that's, we don't obviously we don't get a say in this. We don't vote like we do for all state. So, it's just, it could be the difference between one vote that this guy's, going to be in the big school East-West as opposed to Big 33. So, we never learn those numbers on the rankings. So we have to just take it at face value, but there's a lot of really good football players on the East-West roster.
We even mentioned Evan McCracken on the West small school roster. He's an awesome.
He's got a little bit of poor man's McCaffrey in him if you watch it.
Yeah, he's an awesome player. Rico Steele's a really good player. Braden Lowe on Bell Vernon is an awesome play. He's just a beast there at defensive end. And then you have the Westinghouse kids as well. I mean, the small school game is going to be really fun as well. Like there's
love on that West roster, Dan. Jalen Andrews from Loyal Sock. He's 6'3", about 180. He can run like a deer. He probably had 85 catches this year. He's awesome. And Cameron Watkins is the other athlete from Bald Eagle area. Also played wide receiver, but he can play linebacker, come off the edge. And both of those guys are like super athletic, probably a little underrated. This is a strong. You talked about Rico Steele. Mike Christ is on that offensive line. He's a beast from Steel Valley. Dane Levi from Bell Vernon. These are good ball players.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and this does kind of go to show, right? Just when we kind of feel like the depth in PA it's kind. I don't know if improving is the right word, but it just feels like it's expanding. I mean, there would be some years where some of these kids would definitely be, especially on a year where we didn't. It almost feels like even if the top tier, we're not getting quite as many, number 1 top 5 recruits in the country or whatever in PA or whatever. There's so many good football players that are going to be helping Division I football team. Like there are going to be a lot of kids on this list that end up through the transfer portal or whatnot, playing Division I football.
Just tell Maryland to stay home and let's have like a tournament.
Yeah,
where our East-West teams and our Big 33 can be the 1 seed and get the bye, and then let's have a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, and even the coaching staffs are pretty steady. You have you look at the West Small School, you have Dante Green as an assistant coach. You could argue no one's done a better job over the last 2 years than Dante Green at Westinghouse. Probably one of the best coaching jobs in a while, I'd say, to get a city league Pittsburgh school to back-to-back state title games. The coaching staffs are great. Just this is going to be an awesome event, and I know Josh Oswalt's pretty heavily involved in it, and he does a great job with it. So
Alex Aschenbach, however you say, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. Williams Valley. He was an interesting kid. He was one of the leading rushers in the state, and he had like a crazy year on defense.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see Caden Pines make it as well. Caden Pines has been, I think he's kind of he went a little under the radar his senior year because, we kind of focused more on him as a receiver in high school, and Cumberland Valley went pretty run heavy for good reason because they had Bryce Starretts, but he made a lot of big plays in that playoff run for them, and he's listed as a defensive back here. He had a really good season at DB too, especially because I think CV didn't have a ton of depth at that position, and he was kind of relied on pretty heavily to anchor that group. And I think he did a really great job this year. He's one of 75 mid-pen players that will be on the Shippensburg Red Raiders next year.
Hey man, how did Ethan Knox not make this?
I think it would have been unfair.
Come on, man.
You can't show up to defense like that. He would have went for 320. You can't do that.
Come on, man.
I need my guy Ty Milheims on this one. I think
Brian, I'm not sure, and again, don't quote me on this, but I'm not sure that Oil City's actually part of the Coaches Association.
That could be it.
I can't recall an Oil City kid on these rosters in the past couple of years. I don't know for sure. Like I said, don't quote me on that. But I can't remember another kid from Oil City, and they've had some good players.
I wish you wouldn't remind me of that. Again, look, coaches. I think a lot of a lot of the coaches, but a lot of the guys in the Coaches Association. But the silliest thing in the world is to not pick a deserving kid because his coach didn't pay $150.
I'm telling you, we got to get it for new signs, just like the phone companies, new customers, 50% off the first year. Can we get that?
There's got to be something. You're going to run it. Look, you're going to run into it one year and you're going to have a kid who's like legitimately like a Micah Parsons or somebody who, again, it's different these days where kids that level are typically going to go and opt to go play like in the Under Armour game or something like that. But one year you're going to have a kid that's somewhere along that level and his coach is not going to be in the Coach Association. Then what? And he wants to play in the game. Then what? We're just not going to pick the best guy in the state because his coach didn't pay $150.
Well, I think what happens there is the coach probably ends up paying $150. I think he gets pressured into it. That's probably what happens. Unfortunately, I think he would be told it, and they would probably. I imagine they would extend him the courtesy of nudge, nudge. Please sign up for this so we can invite your kid.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I have lowered expectations for athletics in Pennsylvania. We've had this discussion about this not being a serious state for football. I like these games and all, but these guys won't even turn in their stats. So, nobody knows who leads anything, and there's no official records in Pennsylvania football.
We're definitely there's definitely a lethargic approach.
Ep is being diplomatic, right?
Right. Lethargic approach to change and to update and, run rather than crawl into the new season, into the new year. Let's put it that way. We see it. It's very close to home. We see it with a certain conference that we cover. And we see it across, the state too. And it's, why that is, I don't know. But it is.
South Carolina, Florida, never seen anything like it. Love you guys. A lot of you guys love you guys, but it could be so much better with just a little bit of effort and a little bit of comments.
Yeah, but South Carolina and Florida don't have state championships sponsored by beef, which is my favorite thing going to the.
That's good. Yeah,
that's my favorite thing going to the state championships is they're just posters everywhere that just say beef on them, and it makes me feel.
Listen, that's it. It's beef. We get a lot of chocolate milk.
Yep.
We get some of that milk, pure white milk, in the farm show milkshakes.
Yep.
We do a lot of things right. Really, the only thing we're missing to kind of give it more of that state fair kind of feel, is the funnel cake.
Yeah,
right?
we need funnel cake. What is it? Brickers? All we have is the Brickers fries or whatever.
We got the fries, but we need funnel cakes.
Yeah,
That's all we need.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we shouldn't, because I think I would gain 30 pounds in one weekend, because I would just keep eating it, one for every game. But
you only get one meal, Dan. They only give you a coupon for one burger and fries.
Well, yeah, then it'd also be bad for me financially, because I just
charge it to the company.
Yeah.
Linder's good for it, right?
Yeah, there we go.
He's good for it.
It's an expense report. Funnel cakes.
They can afford to feed a lot more media now that Aaron Carr's transition.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love that kid.
Hey, listen, I think we got a podcast, guys. Anything else you want to throw in there? Anything you want to throw out there?
I think we got it.
We'll be hunkered down with hoops and swimming over the next couple of days, but it's a good time of the year. At least the sun came out today, so but there's always football to talk about, so we'll do it again next week.
Yeah. Dan, tell them how to find you on social media.
Dan_Sostek.
I am at 3Jacker on X.
And I'm at Sports by B Linder on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Continue to follow me, because I have a photo of Dan as a wrestler that I
No, you're not tweeting that one out.
I may tweet it out since he sent it to me.
That was not for public consumption.
And listen, the one thing I know about
45 record or something like that.
The one thing I know about high school wrestlers, even now in the old days, I'm old now, is they always remember their high school record. So what was yours?
Well, I did not wrestle in high school. I wrestled in elementary school and middle school.
Oh, okay.
But I believe I was like 9 and 35, and 8 of them came against the same kid or something. But
beautiful.
So
there's a kid right now.
Too many nosebleeds. I'm straight out of Vision Quest. I told my mom to watch it. She's never seen Vision Quest.
Shoot.
And I told her to watch it because I lost so many matches because I would have a bloody nose and would have to quit the match. So that's bloody noses and broken thumbs are why I quit. And I was.
What was his name? Loud and what?
What was his name? Loud. It was Matthew Modine and Linda Fiorentino, but Loudon Knox or that sounds like a.
I don't know what it was. Something Loudon.
Yeah.
There's a guy somewhere right now with your photo on his wall. Because you beat him 8 times in wrestling.
Loudon Swain.
There it is. Loudon Swain.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, look, that's it, guys. Check us out on PennLive.com. Like I said, we got a bunch of postseason stuff. A lot of your favorite football players are playing hoops or wrestling down the stretch here. So you'll see a lot of familiar names and guys who are really prospects at that level. So check us out at PennLive.com. And until next week, we'll see you then.
The UPMC sports medicine experts in Central PA are here to help keep you in the game and improve your quality of life, no matter your age or activity level. Visit upmc.com/Central PA SportsMed to learn more.